Sorry, Morgan.
So who's the CFO for a while?
Yeah, like when they first
Did you
started.
say it started? Are we recording? Can we go ahead and start?
Yeah, we can go live. Are you ready?
Yep.
Hold on. Come on again.
Yeah. Everyone's so quiet when we count it down. 3.
Be careful what you say, huh?
Yeah.
Don't swear.
Gotcha.
Okay, Marianne. Okay. We are going to go ahead and get started. Today is January 8th. This is the work meeting for the Hooper City Council, and we have a lot to cover, and so we're just going to try to go through some of these. I have just a couple announcements I just wanted to ask you ahead of time before we get started on any of these. So they have a new Powers and Duties book. You know, the Utah League of Cities and Town puts this out, and our 3 new council members went to the training, and I went as well, and so we all have one. And Ryan and Dale, council member Powers and Hill, if you would like one, we will get you one. Would you be interested in that? Okay. She sent me a message today and said that we could go ahead and do that. Okay, and maybe we can talk about this when we talk about the council assignments. January 13th, the Western Weaver CTC is having a kickoff meeting at 6 o'clock at the Barn Community Center in West Haven, and they've invited the mayors and city council members to go. The Western Weaver CTC is a coalition that is formed with the communities that feed into Fremont High School and Westfield High School. And so they just asked if I could ask you if you were interested in going and to get a count for food. And so they give you food, and
What time is it?
it is from 6 to 7:30 on January 13th, which is next Tuesday, and it would be at the Barn Community Center.
What's CTC?
It stands for Communities That Care.
So is that the one that you had me listed to go? So I'll go.
Okay, so if you want to check schedules, or if you know tonight, you can let me know. Or if not, if you need to check schedules and let me know for sure by tomorrow so I can get back with her.
Do we have an address?
I'm with my boss.
It's the community center. It's 3785 Green Farm Way. It's that community center they've built that has the silo in it. Yeah. So if you'll let me know, like you say, if you could by, this weekend.
I'll let you know by
Count me in.
Okay, January 21st is Local Officials Day at the Salt Palace. So before they start the legislative session every year, they do these Local Official Day. They start with the Youth Council for breakfast. They do some different events in the Capitol, but we are invited to one that starts at 10 o'clock, and it runs from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the Salt Palace. And so again, if you could let us know by Monday if you would like to go to that or not, and then Morgan will get us registered
What's it
to
called?
go. It is Local Officials Day. And from 10 to 12, they usually have a little pre-meeting with some of the Utah League of Cities and Town officials. And then at 12 o'clock, they have you sit in a table, and they have, like, Hooper would have a table, and then our representatives, if they can get away from the Capitol, will come and sit, and we can address any questions. Okay, so that's the 21st.
So is that a good thing to go to?
It's a good thing.
All right.
Uh-huh.
I can go. So my next question is, these rules and that, we can't carpool down together. Is that correct then? Or
So I think we can if it's a social gathering like
You would
this.
be able to.
Yeah,
okay.
I would avoid any kind of
talking
talk
about Hooper City.
city business.
I don't want to ride alone.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that.
Yeah,
That's right.
Okay.
yeah. Okay,
Plan on
anyway,
me going.
okay. Okay,
I'll let you know.
okay, yeah, so the rest of you, so on the 13th and the 21st, if you'll just let us know. Okay, and then just one more thing real quick I wanted to just make you aware of. So, as you know, we've had senior lunches here that we've had for, a long time. they are no longer doing those because we no longer have seniors that have been coming. We've had quite a few of our seniors that have passed away this last year, and the last one they only had 4 or 5 people here, and the seniors decided that they were going to discontinue that. So, but with that, you know, we already have the money for the West Haven, for the Roy program that we have. And I also received a letter from Riverdale City, and I'll just briefly tell you this because I don't have all the information, but they said they're going to have membership vouchers that our residents could purchase to go there. And I don't remember, Councilmember Hill, do you how many we had from Riverdale? But we did have a few of our seniors that went there. I was surprised. Yeah, not that many. So what they were asking, but I don't know what the cost is, and I've left messages with them and I haven't heard back, but I will let you know when I do, because then what they would like us to do is then have our residents be able to purchase these membership vouchers for half price, then we pay the other half, but it might be comparable to what we were paying for lunches. I don't know. We will have to wait and see what the cost
Which is
is.
crazy because Riverdale City can more than enough subsidize it with the money they make. So my goal is to stay with Roy.
Yeah.
It's me.
Well, and I think we'll find out how much, and then we'll have a better discussion probably at our next meeting with what that is. Okay, so those are just our little things that we wanted to talk about. Just one other thing, but this could also go along with our city council assignments. This was one of the first things we'll talk about. So each year we can have 3 LPC members, which is Legislative Policy Committee, and you can vote. And so last year it was myself, Debbie, and Dale, and they had meetings. When the legislative session is going on, they have a meeting every single Monday at 12 o'clock that you can either go down to the Capitol, it's actually in the Senate chambers, one of those rooms down there, or they have them on Zoom. And so I'm planning on doing it again, and so I didn't know if there were 2 of you that wanted to do that. Like I mentioned, Dal did it the last. Zoom works good. So I didn't know if Larry Ray, if you might be interested. I thought this might be a little bit hard, Ryan, for you maybe with work, probably the same with
work?
David with work. But if you 2, I just have to have the new names turned in, they said, here within the next week. And so all of the meetings are at noon. The first one is actually coming up this Monday at noon. But if you 2 would be interested, I could get you more of those details. And then, like I say, once the legislative session starts, then they're January 26th, February 2nd, 9th, 17th, 23rd, March 2nd, and 9th. But like, Dal said, Zoom seems to work okay.
I can go.
So are you 2 willing to do that, and I'll put your names down?
Yeah, put
Okay.
me down.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
go watch with you.
So then on to that is city council assignments. And I didn't know if all of you had a copy of this. If not, then I did some copies because we had this as a discussion, but then also it ended up being a work or something to motion on because after, my whole goal is this year that we always discuss it first in work meeting before we move it to the agenda to be voted on. So we have a chance to be able to talk about it. If you have any questions for our attorney, you can ask him before it ever comes on the agenda to be voted on. And the Weber Fire District, they're swearing that person in on Tuesday. And so that's why then I ended up amending the agenda, which again, we're going to try hard not to make Morgan do extra work and do agenda amendments. So one just explanation real quick too, and then we'll discuss this. So this is kind of what my thinking was. I know sometimes we've had multiple things on, but if it's something that we all do anyway, I see no reason to assign that to a specific person. These are things that you would be then responsible for attending those meetings, or if you have, we'll discuss it if you're interested, and then coming back even and reporting, because you will be the one then representing the city at those meetings to come back and then say, I was at this meeting and this is what we talked about. So with that discussion, thoughts?
So what all does the Just Serve coordinator do that Dale's?
Well, okay, that's one thing so you'll see later on where it talks about this proclamation for Just Serve. So Utah League of Cities and Towns had a national conference this year, and they had this, it was I don't know what they even called it, a nightly meeting, and they talked about Just Serve, and they said three things. They would like each of the cities to become a Just Serve city, coordinate with Just Serve for America 250, because this year, you know, with that America 250 Utah, they want us to be doing different events, and serving with your family and your community. And so if we end up deciding, you know, we'll discuss this, and I thought if, and then I thought that might, for you, Del, be the Just Serve coordinator. We have Just Serve people that are in the Ogden area that are over this area. And so then, you know, you would coordinate with them if we ever had a service project that we could do, or if we came up with a service project that we might be interested in Hooper, you would coordinate with that Just Serve person. And this is ran through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but it's not just only for church members. It's a, you know, United States whole, even worldwide program. They do this Just Serve, but usually they are senior missionaries that are over this Just Serve program. But those meetings would just be whenever. Okay, go ahead, David.
On the proclamation, that that website is not correct. It says justservice.org, and it's actually justserve.org.
Okay.
So just so you know, if you try to click a link or try to copy that and go.
Oh, it's Just Serve, not Just Serve Us. Okay.
Yeah.
And this proclamation, which, you know, is also for us to talk about, I just copied and pasted this off of another city that had already done this. But that is what they were encouraging us, if we decide to do this, is then to, not in tonight's meeting, but by next meeting, to do this proclamation, you know, on becoming a Just Serve city. And then if we do this, then it would be, I think, important to have a Just Serve coordinator.
Are we discussing that now, or is that coming later?
Well, these kind of go hand in hand, I guess. So, yeah.
Dale, what's your thoughts? Is that something you would be interested in doing?
Well, I'm pretty involved in those types of service projects now. I have resources to
No.
pull on, but
That's what I thought, because you're already involved and would probably have a
I don't
close
think we should
contact.
give you something that you wouldn't be interested in doing, so if that would work for you, that would be a good choice if you're okay with it.
yeah, that would work.
Okay,
And that is a meet. Oh, never mind. That's the time schedule for Hooper Colony Water.
yes,
To
yeah,
be determined on either one, so
yeah.
I'm good with that, if he's good with it.
David, did you see yours about being over youth council and emergency preparedness? I know those Wednesdays conflict with your meeting, but David Harris requested you.
Yeah, and it does conflict with my Wednesday nights in my commitment to my church, but I know Dave Harris, I can attend occasionally, and he'll update me separately if I can't attend the weekly meeting. So I've expressed to him, if I get involved with that my commitment is to be able to bring back reporting to the council on the involvement in what's going on. So I'll just be diligent about, if I can't attend the meeting, making sure that you're all updated based on me following up with him. But yes, I'm excited for the youth council especially. I think it's great to get the youth involved in this process, and I have some cool ideas that I'd like to, you know, think through and maybe present, so it'd be great.
Okay,
And because you're the only one under 100 years old, you would be the logical choice, so.
right,
Yeah, maybe I
you're sitting by
qualify to be
Ryan, you
council,
should too.
Unbelievable.
I said under 100, I know.
You said the only one under 100.
Okay, what about Ray with animal control?
Oh, I would love that.
And I can
I do it
explain.
already.
So the community events has requested that, you know, all of city council helps with community events. This year though, and it used to be this way, that the city council was actually over the community dinner. But rather than just saying, all of you are over this, we felt like it would maybe be a little bit better if we had a council member actually assigned to it for that one, because it's a little more than just come help put out candy.
Well, being as my wife and I ran the Tomato Days celebration for 7 years, I think I got a little insight into that, so
That's what I thought too.
probably can handle that.
Yeah. That's what
But we will need lots of help, because that takes a ton of people, so.
Well, and it would be all the council helping. It would just be, you would be the one always coordinating and saying, okay, this is what food we want to do, and
Well, I don't know how it is still now, but I used to call, we had to leave town because we got so many calls after we quit doing it because we had done it for so long, nobody else knew what to do, so I got a rough idea how that plays
As
out.
long as we have corn and pulled pork every year, we're good.
Pretty simple.
And tomatoes.
And tomatoes, you gotta have tomatoes.
okay. Larry, what?
I'm fine. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it, so.
Okay.
I'm fine or whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ryan, I know you said you were okay with mosquito abatement, but not so sure. And this is something we wanted to talk about, if we want to continue doing, tomato jam. Do we want to, and I mentioned, I talked with Ryan yesterday, if we wanted to, then him be over cultural arts, or we have someone over cultural arts, then you have someone on that committee be over tomato jam. What are your thoughts?
I would like to know if we're even having tomato jam to the point of it being an actual community event that's worthwhile. You know what I mean? Or if it's just 30 people getting together to say. we're
Describe
having-
tomato jam to me, because I've never attended.
I've only ever been once, and there's community members that come and they can bring any kind of instrument they want, and then they take turns. The time I was there, and that was like when it very first started, and they took turns playing their instruments.
And was it well attended?
Well, this one was like the very first one, so I don't know that you could really judge it.
Has anybody been to
Yeah,
one?
I've been to quite a few of them, and it's just hit and miss. Sometimes they're really well attended, and sometimes it's just a couple people and those who are coming to play instruments.
Okay. So Ryan's comment sounds valid. I think we gotta decide if it's.
So my thing is, I will support it. I have zero to do with any instruments or music because I don't understand any of it. Never have participated in my whole life in it. But if that's what Hooper City wants, I will support it. But if not, I'm fine to do away with it too.
David, what's your thoughts?
I was just gonna
Yeah,
say-
so what, it doesn't, in my understanding, it doesn't cost us anything other than they're using the building, is that correct?
That's
Right.
correct.
And then are we opening the building for other things that people want to use it? Would this be, for instance, like when I think cultural arts, I mean, maybe this is one thing, but I think that maybe Councilman Hill has an opportunity for other things that people in the community might want to do, art class or, I don't know, a painting night or something like that. I'm just not sure when I think cultural arts, I think of a more expounded thing, and so this is maybe a start, but I'm not sure if that's are we exclusively saying tomato jam is the only place where we're allowing that, and if it's not, so I'd just be curious of that. Has there ever been any other interest, or is this just like Councilman Hill said, this just a few people getting together and having a little jam session in the city building, and do we mind that, or is that actually an officially Hooper sponsored thing that we feel is the community's interested in? So I'd just be curious to know more.
We have had a couple of other groups that have expressed interest with using our building, and we have told them no.
Yeah, I'd
So,
just be curious how we're deciding that.
within the city. So I think that's a good point. We either need to decide, is this going to be an official sanctioned, and it really hasn't cost other than the use of the building, but these other groups that have asked, it wouldn't have cost any either. And we just said no, because we didn't know where you start and stop. We don't rent our building out, and so then, when they asked, then we said, well, no. I mean, at first I thought, oh yeah, that's great. And then the more I, talked to staff, we thought, well, then when do we start and stop? If you let one group, when do you?
That's an important question. I first just want to ask, so this is not a city-sponsored event? This,
Well,
Or is it?
Well,
It is.
Wasn't it
Well,
part of
deciding-
wasn't it part of becoming a TULCT healthy city? You know what I mean? You're not
Yeah.
got that recognition. Wasn't
Yeah.
that
So
our
we should
event?
probably put it on a separate agenda if we're going to discuss keeping it or not. Because
Okay.
it wasn't motioned up
no.
on doing that tonight. So I think we got a good conversation going and starting. Let's do it on another.
Do it officially.
Who could we talk to see if it's, the interest is out there? Maybe Amanda, of course, but who else would know?
What about even your nephew? No, your
Cindy's nephew.
Cindy's nephew.
Her cousin.
Yeah, why don't you, cousin, maybe
James.
maybe ask him.
Bounce it off.
Because he's been one. And then we could have this on the agenda. Should we have it as an agenda item for next
If we want to
time?
have
Have
it
a
just,
motion.
just have it motioned up,
Okay.
or if just even to have it motioned up for discussion, that's fine.
Okay.
Do you have anybody specific, Dale, that you know that's been attending regularly that you could talk to?
Rosalie, I don't know her married name now, Rosalie Hall, her husband always comes and
Okay.
plays.
Muir?
play
Is
three.
the last name Muir?
Yeah, he can play 3 or 4 instruments.
Oh, really? Would you have time to talk to him before we meet again?
Oh, yeah, see if he's.
I mean, see if he's intent on still doing it.
Yeah, and there's several that come and play guitars and, I don't know, there's quite a bit of talent that
Yeah.
shows up that you wouldn't know otherwise.
Maybe you could discuss it with them and just,
Yeah.
But
Get some
like I
feedback.
said, sometimes it's really well attended and sometimes it's just the musicians that come.
So I guess my one piece of input might be that we just have this during the months that maybe we can have it outdoors and set up the bleachers and the stage.
Yeah.
Like we had that one time and have it an actual outdoor event where people can come and bring their lawn chairs and have it a relaxation event or whatever.
Yeah, Plain City does a concert in the park, and it's really well
Whole
attended.
Concert in the park type thing.
this thing is more regular than that though, right?
Every
It's
month.
committed.
Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe if we did it May through September or something, you know.
Maybe discuss Dale with the people you know that are going, or you can maybe talk with your wife's nephew. Yeah, and talk to somebody.
Well,
talk to
so
him about this.
maybe we all do a little bit of homework on
Research,
this,
yeah.
and then we bring it back to be on the agenda
Yeah,
for
we'll put it
next
on the
time.
agenda down the road.
Okay.
Sounds like a deal.
Okay. Well, any other discussion on assignments then?
One thing, we used to have secondary water on there, and there was a time, when the coordination between Hooper City and Hooper Irrigation was really important, because we had some subdividers that, because we have an ordinance that says if you have a ditch that's running through the property or an adjoining ditch that's on the neighboring property, it has to be piped. And there was a time when we had 2 different developers that just planned their development right over top of the pipe or an open ditch. I mean, it didn't even show the ditch. And even if there's a buried pipe that their development goes right over top of that, say, Hooper Irrigation owns, it never showed that. My question is, how are we coordinating that now? How are we knowing that these irrigation systems are being addressed when a developer comes in?
So that's one thing now that is addressed with the subdivision. That's one of their things on those where they go through their reviews. Because one thing on the review that they actually have to do talks about irrigation, and there's actually a section that says about running through if they pipe where it does. So all of that now is addressed through those subdivision reviews. And usually they do, well, it depends on how many times it comes back, 3 or 4,
Max 4, yeah.
4 times.
And one thing I do know, you and I have a lot of insight where the irrigation ditches go around here, so if there was something that was a question, I'm pretty sure we have fairly
Okay,
good.
if we ever
idea.
have a chance to see it. See
Yeah.
if we ever, and that was another challenge, to make sure that the city is looking at the same set of plans that are delivered to the irrigation company. And maybe you take care of that too, Malcolm.
Best we can, but it is hard because their initial plan goes, and Hooper Irrigation gives like a preliminary will serve or approval, I guess you could call it. I don't know their term, and then we revise it a fair amount. And then we try to make it go back again, and we typically do. But you're right, the plan will change, and then you got to make sure it goes back again for another approval because it could affect their irrigation lines and
Yeah.
their secondary, or their irrigation and then their secondary water lines, so.
And maybe the irrigation company could be, I mean, that's been talked about there before, but sometimes they'll give a will serve letter, and it doesn't even address where the irrigation lines are, it's just if they have irrigation water, you know, if they have water available. And it doesn't necessarily address the fact that there's already a current irrigation system that interferes with that development.
And what would the harm be in having an expert, these guys, looking at a set of plans in that approval process to say, hey, what about this? You know,
Well, and
just a second set of eyes on it.
Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to you guys and I'm thinking, does anybody in the past, like a subdivision goes in, does anybody ever go out and physically or visually look at it, or?
Well, we did.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause when
I don't know.
When I had that assignment, you know, when that was on my assignment, I actually went to the subdivision. And, you know, more
Good.
often than not, I was pretty familiar with where the irrigation systems were anyway, but,
Well, and one thing too, we do have Jared on, you need to remember that as part of that committee that looks through them, who is really pretty knowledgeable about irrigation. So I think before, when it was an assignment, it was actually more of someone that would go to their meetings. And really, if you're a director, you can go to the meetings, and unless if we really have something specific, and like we addressed before, the irrigation shares belong to the city, and so as the mayor, I actually am the one that would be the one that, my name's certainly not on them, but Hooper City is. But as far as subdivisions, yeah, that's a good point, but I think
we're
we have
talking two
Jared.
different things there.
We are,
Because when when a developer comes in to develop, he turns water into Hooper Irrigation.
Yes.
They own the water that's going to
yeah,
service that subdivision.
yeah,
I think what you're referring to, you know, if Hooper Irrigation, or Hooper City owns water, we're watering our parks with it, or we're using the water for Hooper property, not.
yeah,
and
no,
so
I was,
there's-
sure, I was talking about the meetings, 'cause, you know, before there was like
So-
Hooper Irrigation, and someone would be assigned to go to the meetings.
Mhm.
But now we don't necessarily need to do that unless if there's a cause. But no, I think all that is addressed. I understand your concerns, but they really do review these plans more times than maybe they want to. And irrigation is one that they talk, in fact, we were barely talking about that.
Can we
Is it-
kind of address that between me and Dale? I mean, if there's something comes up, and
Sure,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure between you and I, we know where every irrigation ditch you hook.
Yeah, and if Jared, when they're reviewing the
Well, if it's
plans,
inside-
they could always,
Anyway.
You know, I don't know
yeah,
how that plays out, but
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking, our irrigation ditches, just that I've used since the 60s, you know what, I could put up a drawing in that and height one of the ditches because it's been underground, and if you even drove out there, you might not know what I was doing. Not,
Well,
you know,
case in point, the one subdivision went over top of a buried 48-inch main delivery system for the North Branch, and it was never shown on their plan.
yeah, I see it happening.
So,
Yeah.
once those come up, I think a person ought to attend the meetings, and they ought
Yeah.
to be real familiar with what the development's going to be and where it's going to be located.
sure. And that would be something as they come in, if there's ever any questions.
so do we
Certainly
need
they
somebody
can reach
assigned to
out.
that specifically for every meeting, or just somebody that?
Well,
could
there,
go.
there is the technical review committee, and by our new ordinance that we did, city council does not sit on that. Because now that the subdivisions are approved by planning commission. And so there's a member of the planning commission chair, our engineer, public works director, Malcolm. And so they go through all those reviews, and then it goes. So there is not a place even on there, and I don't know that we even could assign a member of city council to be on
But
there because
again,
we're not
see,
supposed
a
to.
lot of the water that's used for developments is owned by the city. It's under the same roof. Here in Hooper, we're a little different, where you've got a whole different, you know, a city, Hooper City, and then you've got a Hooper irrigation system that's
yeah.
totally, it's a different
it's.
It's not under the
Well,
same roof.
Let us have a chance maybe to go through that ordinance, because I don't know that we could even, I can look. I don't know that we can add a city council member to that, because that's really, it doesn't list that we can, because now that's a separate entity that they,
Be something to check out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But as far as the
is it called?
assignments, I'm
it's
not-
the no, it wouldn't be part of the assignment, it would be part of the technical review committee, because like those plats, I don't sign
Title
anymore.
10, chapter 8.
Yeah, so why don't we review
I
that,
think
and
they
then we
could be
could
on
get
the
back
TRC, but I don't
to
know
the
if they
next
can have
time. So
an
we've
assignment or not.
just lots, so.
Yeah, an
yeah.
assignment,
It's
not on the board, but I'll look.
Yeah,
I'll look.
yeah.
I mean, is there a council person that's assigned to planning commission that goes and attends?
Mm-mm.
Should we?
I've seen that in different cities, and if
I've
that's
seen that
and
as
that's
well.
something where someone could say, because they're going to see all the plats through there, they could say they wouldn't be on planning commission, but it would just be that they attend for this purpose, for those kind of things, for discussion wise. But
So
We could do that. I have seen that as well, that in some cities they have a council member that is assigned,
planning commission meets just once a month.
they meet once a month. But
Even if we didn't have somebody assigned, could we just find out who was available and then go sit in and listen on something like that?
did you want that on a council assignment? You're
No,
just saying like,
Not necessarily, just saying maybe just have somebody that was available. I mean, I don't know. Is that doable?
and that would address, they'd be able to
It's a public meeting,
see
right?
those plats
Yeah.
and those kind of things.
And
Yeah.
really, it probably wouldn't be every month, or,
No.
it would just be a few times in the year, would it? Or-
yeah,
Whenever there's a development that is
Okay.
by an irrigation system,
Yeah.
that's how many times a year, but they would
Mhm.
need to know that. See,
Yeah.
somehow, someone needs to be
Coordinate
in a
that.
position to know that that's
Yeah.
going to happen.
well, okay, then we could certainly do that when they not have a necessarily
I
be
think-
an
I think
assignment,
Dale's
not be on the
correct in that.
committee,
We
but
need
just
to
have them be,
evaluate that, so.
is that what you're thinking? Not assign someone specific.
Just if we just had, as long as we got somebody there, I mean, that knows what's going on, basically. And
Okay,
I don't know if that's doable or
So
not.
I guess, so you're looking at that assignment as something different than like being on the mosquito abatement, going as an assignment to attend that meeting, or Hooper Culinary Water, having an assignment there. See, I'm not seeing where we're drawing the line
well,
where you can attend, but you can go to Hooper Culinary Water and get information there. I'm not understanding the difference there that you're trying to.
well, so if
say
you
that
go back to that in Title 10, Section 8, and they define who is on this technical review committee, because now our planning commission is our land use authority. So that's what that is, but I don't think so you wouldn't specifically have a board seat on that, because it doesn't define that
Right.
but I think if ever there was any time, if they're going through a subdivision and they had a question, I don't think anybody would ever hesitate to reach out to you or to, anybody and say, do you know more about this irrigation ditch that we should know about that we don't currently know?
Will there be any legal ramifications you can think of?
For just getting that advice from you guys?
Yeah, just going and looking.
Absolutely not.
So
Yeah.
how would we know that? How would we know that there's going to be a subdivision that would,
Well, as soon as they
Pertain.
turned in all their application, they turn them in and they start to review them. And then if they had questions, like again, I'm sure Jared's somewhat familiar with probably not as familiar as you two, but I'm sure if ever there was a question, he wouldn't hesitate to reach out.
I don't know that, but I totally agree, we gotta have somebody looking it over, but
So Malcolm and Morgan knows most all that on a subdivision.
they'll know whenever
is that
there's a
right?
subdivision coming up, right? I guess we'll know that too.
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah,
Well, I know when they're gonna come for a public hearing is the first time that they'll come to the planning commission. That would be the earliest they'd come to planning commission. Yeah. Application, they will have already gone to Hooper Irrigation before they come to us. And then they'll go to Hooper Irrigation again before they get final. So there's a few times they come to us, but
I think Morgan, do they all receive the agendas for planning commission? We could make sure that you do. And then if you, are you already getting those? So you could look on the agenda.
Can you get those?
Yeah, let's start sending you then copies of the planning commission meetings as well. And then if you happen to see a subdivision, because like Malcolm said, the first time it would be public heard, which sometimes that's a good place to, they can discuss different questions, even with boundaries, and then
It
someone
is
can.
on the state website or city website the week before as well. But I can also send
I guess just to give one plug, I don't want to convolute the conversation, but the way that it works, so it's on the table from my standpoint, is they have to bring me a will serve letter first before we start reviewing it. And I don't know what that looks like on irrigation side, but they see it and they issue a letter that says there's water available to this potential subdivision. Then we start some reviews to kind of get the fundamentals worked out, and then before I send them to planning commission, they have to have a availability letter, which means they've gone to Hooper Irrigation and they got a plan set that we've reviewed, and then Hooper Irrigation stamps it and says, yeah, this works. And they've also had to turn in all their required shares to develop. And so that's how it works on my end. So however you guys want to plug in, it doesn't matter to me, but that's how I make sure that they've seen it twice and then turned in water before we
Well,
approve it.
somewhere in that process, it'd be nice if we looked it over.
Yep, however you guys want, we can get you into it. So just let me know how you want to be in it.
I think if we got the agenda
Yeah.
emailed to us, you guys could be able to look
Yeah,
at
we
it.
could look and say, yeah,
Let's talk, who's gonna go to this
Yeah,
one?
we guess we
Mhm.
can.
yeah, I think that's a good idea
We
too.
know where they all go, so.
So the only other thing I had on my list was the BIPS assignment. I don't know if we're serious about doing that or not.
Maybe explain, are they familiar, maybe Larry and Ray with and David, what
Yes,
VIPs
that
are?
talk to me a little bit about it, but
Sponsored by Weaver County Sheriff's Office, Volunteers in Police Service is what it is. Every city in Weaver County is welcome to participate in this program. Basically, it's volunteer-based. Some cities have actually provided their own vehicles, trucks, whatever. The Sheriff's Department will outfit those vehicles with signage, radio, lights, all those kinds of things to actually participate in voluntarily policing the community. But you're actively engaged with dispatch and the deputies while you're on that voluntary assignment. So it's a pretty good thing. You just gotta make sure you can get the volunteers to participate in it. So if we can,
One positive thing is initially, see, we did have to provide our own vehicle, but now the sheriff's department, I mean, it is an inconvenience because you have to go over there and pick it up on 12th Street. But then you drive it out and it is all equipped, just like,
so you have to go get it each day that you want.
well, yeah, but then you don't do, you may not,
Yeah, we're not gonna do it every day, regardless.
but as often as,
I mean, I will say we have a truck sitting out there in the parking lot that we could consider
could
using,
probably do that.
you know, but that'd be up to us to figure that out. But anyway,
I know sometimes when we thought it would be helpful to have them, for instance, with Hooper Tomato Days,
yes.
and we have all those gates we have to man for people that want to sneak in and not pay, and so we thought that would be,
And even in the summertime, having two people just drive around the community looking for
Especially at night,
trouble at night.
especially at night.
And
That's-
being
I think it's a
in
good idea.
communication with the deputy at any moment to just police our community would be a benefit, I think. So having a council member assigned to that, there's one of the deputies that's in charge of the VIPS program that you would work with directly to coordinate everything in our community. So
And so they do provide training.
They do.
They want to make sure, they want us to be safe.
It's gonna be like Barney Fife without a bullet, right?
correct.
so Ryan, would you be interested in that?
Possibly.
If we don't do the tomato jam, is that something that you would,
Possibly. Dale or I might.
I would think,
Might-
yeah, one of these two would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
good to go. Either one,
okay,
let them chew on it, see.
Would we, I mean, I brought this up before, but would we have any opportunity to provide a vehicle from our city so we wouldn't have to chase cars to 12th Street?
Like the one in the parking lot.
Or another,
Not bad.
or another.
It doesn't get used every day, but almost. I mean, I know people drive by and see it sitting there,
Car
but
will be the
it
one
really
we're
does
pulling
get
over.
used almost every
We should
day.
put some placards in
Yeah.
your car.
And they can be those magnetized ones, so they come
Uh-huh.
on,
Oh,
so
that'd
they're
be
not on
easy
there all
to
the
do.
time, you
Yeah.
just put them on there when you're
If,
using them.
if it is one of our vehicles, we would probably have to check with our insurance and make sure. So
Easy
that
peasy
would
again.
be something we'd want to check
I
with.
know Far West uses their own, Slaterville uses their own, one other city, I can't remember.
West Haven, I know, does
West Haven.
because I've seen them in their parking lot.
It'd be a great thing, because I'm pretty sure we're all aware that we don't have police coverage out here 24/7, okay? Many of us are naive enough to think that
So
we
is
have
it a
that.
possibility? I don't even know. Insurance companies are tough to work with right now, but if we used our own vehicle, would Weaver County insurance cover us while we were on
Or
duty?
we get a bump in rates for something like that?
We can ask.
I think you have to talk
Yeah,
to insurance
yeah.
and just looking at other things. Has this been something that's been implemented in the past? I'm sorry, I might have missed that.
Not here.
No,
We haven't done this here.
I volunteered for it before on the VIPS program, but I had to partner with people from other communities because we had nobody else.
Oh, okay.
We still probably don't have any money, do we?
We didn't need any money.
Okay.
shouldn't cost anything.
Okay.
Well,
I
we
like
can,
stuff free.
we can check on the insurance.
Yeah, do it if you
Morgan,
wouldn't mind
Morgan
doing
and I,
that.
we could do that Monday and see what the insurance, and then that's,
Find out what
We
it
can
costs
have
for the
that.
city vehicle, find out what it costs for Morgan's car, whatever.
yeah. Okay, any other things on this?
I know we talked about a commercial property coordinator, but maybe Malcolm wants to take that one on sometime.
Sure.
When you're done with everything else. But a council member could help.
Yeah, not a problem. What does it entail?
We'll talk
To,
about that.
to be determined.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is also on our agenda, so to approve these. So I don't know, do you have more discussion, or we can also discuss them more since it is on our agenda, correct, when we're up on the,
Yeah.
so. Okay, any other you want to on this before we move on? Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so the CC 114, did everybody, do you have a copy of this? This is this. I'd make copies because I didn't know. So the reason why I wanted to just discuss this real quick, and not that we are going to make necessarily changes on this tonight, but there are some things in this, this hasn't been updated now for over 10 years, and some things aren't even accurate anymore. And so, you know, one thing that to talk about here in our work meeting too, we don't have to motion on our city council schedule, but we do have to get that published, is the city council schedule. And so that goes along with that, with the meeting schedule, because I know some cities have one meeting a month with the second one being optional if needed. And so we can kind of talk about both these at the same time because they go, do any of you have, I don't know if you have a copy of this either. This is that meeting schedule. So I mean, this is just something as staff we kind of talked about possibly doing. So that goes hand in hand with this 1-1-4 because, you know, we need to establish a time of meeting. Staff, we've talked about even possibly trying to do our meetings, maybe starting them even a little earlier. In Weaver County, most meetings either start at, well, even before 6, but some start at 6, some at 6:30. I know our council wouldn't be able to get here until 6. So even if we wanted to try to start our, work meeting at 5:30 and he could be here by 6 with our regular council meeting at 6:30. Anyway, that's something that we could change in here. In this 1-1-4, it talks about having a work meeting maybe held on each fifth Thursday. We haven't done that. As far as the meeting agenda notice, it says it will be by the newspaper media representative, and it's listed here twice. We no longer post these in the newspaper because you don't. I mean, that
There's
was...
nobody reads newspaper.
You're following the state code, is the way that you're doing it now, the way that you're.
Oh, but that's what
providing
this
notice.
one was?
Yeah. No, this is not. This is our code, right?
This is ours.
Hooper, yeah.
Yeah,
The way that you're noticing them now is
by state
we're
code.
doing it.
Yes.
Right,
Yes. Anyway, and then it talks about the meeting agenda notices, and, you know, in here it talks about the mayor sets the agenda, but two may be added by the discretion of the mayor or to city council members. And then over here, there's another place that talks about we should probably establish a deadline for submission for those to be turned in. I mean, there's just some things, like I say, we're not going to be able to do all this tonight, but I thought I just wanted to, you know, have you look at this, so maybe even by next meeting, if we decide we want to make some changes in this, because some of these things aren't,
One
Up
thing
to
I
date.
noticed when we took our training, online training, see, the old shows that, our old procedure shows that it takes 4 members to form a quorum. And this shows 3. When you take the training, I think we talked about this, the percentage wise, it's still 4. So which is it? Does 3 members of the council form a quorum or 4 members? Because we've got something that says both.
The state code specifically specifies that. It depends on the form of government, but 6 member would be 3, not counting the mayor.
6 would be 3?
Yeah, so 6 member would be 3, not counting the mayor.
Not counting the mayor. So if we have a mayor that is a member of a non-voting member of the council,
Correct. There needs to be
we
3.
need 3. So we need 3 council members, yes,
Yeah.
to make a quorum.
That's
Right.
state code specifically for 6 member.
So is that what we're doing?
That's what
Yep.
we're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, even if you go over to G on the back page and it talks about the order, and we talked about this before, this lists citizen comments at the end. We've talked about doing citizen comments at the beginning. In our training we went to, it said, you know, if you have them at the beginning and it can be on anything, you turn every meeting basically into a public hearing. And so we need to, and we're going to run out of time here really pretty quick. So maybe just look at this and we can have this again on, you know, to discuss. Because, you know, one thing we've talked about with staff, and Morgan's done this, is the Monday, the week before, we'll send you out a notice and say if you have anything you want on the agenda, if you would let us know. If it's not, and I think we should set some guidelines in here. If we don't have it by Wednesday, we wait till the next meeting, so it's not always just 2 or 3 days before. And also on here, it actually says the mayor shall review proposed items for the agenda, and it is really beneficial if myself and even our legal counsel has a chance to review those items, because I'm usually not informed.
Personally, I would love to have it posted a week ahead so that the public has a chance to look at it too, and especially for his point, to be able to review stuff and see if it's good or not.
Yeah.
I think that would be, you know, and obviously there are going to be emergencies pop up, or we may have to fudge that a little bit, but I think the public, that's one thing I have been told, is they want more information. It's kind of hard for the public to look at something if we don't give them time to look at it. So
Yeah.
if we could have stuff posted a week in advance, that would be hunky-dory, I would think.
Yeah, well, that's our goal. We really want to. So then we need your help with that. That if you decide, you know, 2 of you want to put something on the agenda, if you will let me know, it's fine to send to Morgan, but we need to have those in a timely manner. So the week before, at least the Wednesday before, so we have time to
I
be
would
able
think
to
that's
do that.
reasonable.
Anyway, so maybe look through this and then come back prepared, and we'll have this for discussion. And because what I would like to do is have you, you know, you go home and highlight things like I have that you see that maybe no longer fit with what we are doing, and then we could have those ready, we can discuss them, and then have them ready for our legal counsel that could work on this, that maybe could have it
Yeah.
then for the following meeting to be able to get some of these things in place.
So just for clarification, so this month we're gonna have a 3rd meeting on budget?
So January 27th, Tammy said she's available to come, which I was sure this month we would need to have one on the 22nd because we just have a lot of things we're working on. But she said she could come on the 27th. She said we'll plan on that for no more than an hour and a half. If we would want to start that meeting at 6, she would just like to do a overall summary quickly of the budget. Public Works, Jared Hancock said he would come. Darren said with sewer would come just to kind of update us a little bit, and then, you know, would be ready by then, February, to have a budget meeting.
By me.
That's a Tuesday.
That's a Tuesday.
Is there a time on it?
So it's 6 o'clock for the
Six.
budget meeting, if that works out for everyone's schedule. And then, you know, we don't have to decide tonight, but be thinking about if you would be interested in having our meeting start earlier, like I mentioned, possibly 5:30. That would give time the last half hour to have,
Wouldn't mind moving him up to 5:30, but we can't go much earlier than that because he can't get off work.
well, and we wouldn't have legal counsel here with this either.
Talk about this as well. I mean, some cities do have policies and procedures for their council. We've discussed, so we were discussing policies and procedures for the planning commission. That was something that's still being looked at. Some cities have that for their council as well to discuss these things. Like, hey, if you want to present an item, it has to be a week before. If it's not, then it just gets put on the next agenda. So those are things that other cities do as well. So I could gather some of those and just send them out to you.
Oh,
so
that
you
would
can-
be great.
You can look through them.
So we don't necessarily, I mean, our code needs to be updated, but that would be a
Correct. And
policy
it could
in
reference,
addition.
it could reference to policies and procedures
Okay,
for running the meeting. So
okay,
that's an option as well.
yeah, I think that sounds great.
So June, we have no option.
Well,
And then August, the option is the first week and not the second week.
okay, so just to go through with that, so, in August, so and this was, again, up for discussion, that's why in red it says discussion. The reason I thought we probably should plan on 2 meetings in June is because we won't have a meeting on July 2nd, because that will be the holiday celebrated, because the 4th is on a Saturday, and so employees will have the 2nd off. So I didn't know if we wanted to go clear from June 4th to the 16th without a council meeting, because wonder if there was something that residents needed, and if not, that's certainly.
Could we schedule it as tentative and go from there?
Well, yeah, that was the thing, if we said there'll always be 1 meeting a month, and the 2nd will be optional if needed. And the reason, again, with that, August 3rd, we won't have one, because we'll actually be having Hooper Tomato Days events that night.
Okay.
And then I put in too when there was the Utah League of Cities and Towns, because sometimes that month when you have that, then people don't want to have another meeting besides, except for April, we have to have that meeting because we have to have our tentative budget approved by April 30th. So we can't, unless if we have our tentative ready to go by April 2nd. And again, would you like to kind of review this and we can talk about it next time again? And maybe by then, if we kind of have policies about if we want to change.
I'm okay with that. What's your thoughts? Oh,
Well, then we get us your thoughts before
Yeah.
you leave, and then we'll know
protocol
what you're
general.
thinking. Okay. Sorry, David, not to ignore you.
That's okay. Couple things. One, we need to get I'm going to do Zoom calls, or we're ever going to have Zoom calls. I'm sure the citizens would appreciate. We probably got to get a little better mic. Some of y'all are very soft spoken, so it's hard to hear you. But the gist of this, the comment I want to make is full transparency. This is our first work meeting together, so I'm a firm believer in how you start is how you finish, and I'm going to start with full transparency. I don't think surprise agenda items are beneficial to any of y'all as my peers or any of the city members. And so my commitment to you is transparency. If there's something I think we need to discuss on the agenda, I think it's my responsibility to get it to you as soon as possible to make sure that you have plenty of time to prepare for the discussion, to give plenty of notice to the citizens, to be able to understand what's going on, and to give plenty of time to our staff and our legal counsel to actually be able to counsel us and make an informed discussion out of the topic. And so we can discuss it some more, we can bring this back, but my commitment is to support anything that would allow us to lay out provisions saying we need to give some time. Nobody should be getting surprised of what's coming on the agenda a few days beforehand. in any situation. I mean, I hear us say that maybe there's emergencies or something like that. I can't imagine how many of those we should be really considering, so we shouldn't make our rule based on the exception. So I'm a firm believer that we need to offer, and one of the things I ran on is, on my platform, is transparency for the citizens of Hooper. And I think the more time we can give people to prepare for discussion, even professional courtesy to one another, then I think that would be in our best interest. I know I, for one, would love to receive as much notice as possible so that I can offer genuine counsel to the mayor and to my voting decisions, as well as receive as much responsible counsel from our legal counsel on anything that we're going to decide. So that's my position on it. I'm going to support anything that lends us more notice, more time, and more ability for us to make informed. I'm serving in this position, so I just want to.
No, you're breaking up.
Okay, we have a frozen David for a minute.
David.
But we got the important bits.
We got the important part.
You froze up for a minute, David.
If
So
you're
we're not
on,
gonna-
if you're on Facebook or TikTok, then this will
Sorry.
cut.
just
Oh, sorry, there you go.
we got you back.
Yeah, we got
Got
the
you
good
back.
stuff.
We got
the
the
good
gist
stuff.
of it.
Thank you. Okay, we have a few other things, so we're just going to go through quick. A few things with Planning Commission, because we have Jean Larson's term ends the end of December, and I sent you all a mayor's report, and hopefully everyone received this too. I don't know if you did or not. Okay, so there you go again. And again, we're going to have to wait and talk about this next time, but there were some things that I would like to review as far as with the Planning Commission. One thing was that we have their terms end January 31st rather than December 31st, because it doesn't really give us time. Like for us, for instance, now we have a new council and we haven't even had time to discuss that. But so we will need to put that up for Planning Commission. But anyway, so maybe look through this. Anyway, to look through that, because there's a couple of other things. So, and we'll plan on discussing this again next time. So, or if you have any thoughts about it, then okay. Proclamation, we kind of talked about of Just Serve. I don't know if we decide on that or not. Let me just hurry real quick on this because we have a couple of minutes. One thing is this economic development policy. Hooper currently doesn't have one at all. And one thing that has been, as we've had commercial developments come, we don't have anything in place as far as an economic policy. Are we going to accept tax increment financing? We might be, we might not be. And so we met staff, some of us met with, his name is Cody Dieter, and he is one, his company does this economic policy, which I feel like would be really important, that would be important for us to have. It's $2,500. This is within the, procurement. I checked with Cammie, there is money in the budget that we could do this. He will come to our next meeting, to our work meeting, and kind of talk to us about this, what his scope would include. But then a next meeting, it could be on the agenda to approve if we wanted to do this or not. So, and everybody, did you see a copy of this? Was it in the? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Other thing, just real quick, and this isn't anything, I just wanted to have you be informed of as well. So we already have the grant for the bleachers. I think I've mentioned to you before, but Jared wants to get them ordered. Last time, you can see these pictures, and David, I don't know if you can see these pictures, but we talked about doing, two of just the portables in the sides, and the seats were in the middle. We talked about this in one city council meeting already. But he would like to order them, and I was wondering about 2 bleachers, and we have the money. They end up being a few $1,000s more, but we have our park impact fees that we were going to use have gone up, so there would be money in the budget to cover these preference, and again, we're out of time. But one good thing about so all of this bottom, if we did this kind, would all have seats that would fold up. They would be under the covered ones. They would have numbers on them. We thought we could, we'll end up getting more seating because then people actually have a seat rather than sometimes they spread out blankets and food, and we lose quite a bit of seating, and we thought we could maybe even charge a little bit more for those if they were nice seated under the cover. So, anybody thoughts one way or the other?
I just think we wish
The
more
bottom one?
seating, yeah, I think more seating we can put in, that we can, if we're, not gonna have to spend a lot above the grant for doing it.
Yeah, well, I was going through our financials just before the meeting, but I'll make sure with Cammie that there is, money, then we'd be able to. So, okay, well, we need to move up. Sorry, that went fast. I saw it.
David, did
Sorry.
Morgan send you a second Zoom link? Okay, you should have a better
Now we
mic
move up.
on that one. Let me know after
Yeah, I'll switch.
let me know after the meetings what the mic was like on the second call versus this call.
You got it.
Do a longer work meeting.
I know, I don't know. That went really fast, didn't it?
Well, and we got 3 new people, and
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We thought we could new ones by experienced ones, so it's kind of like something with Ryan. We would like to welcome you to our City Council meeting. This is Hooper City, and it is Thursday, January 8th. I am Sherry Bingham, I'm the mayor, and I will be conducting this meeting. We are going to go ahead and have
Recording in progress.
and have a pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Rappaletto and a reverence by Councilmember Hill.
just like you to repeat the pledge of allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be gathered together tonight as a city council and as a community. We're thankful for the opportunity that it affords us to meet public forums such as this. We're thankful for our freedoms that we enjoy. We're grateful for the community we live in, for the state and the nation that we live in as well, and for the freedoms we enjoy. We pray for guidance and direction as we discuss the items on our agenda, that we can do so in a pleasing manner and to lead in a civil manner for our community. We are grateful for those who serve and protect us, and ask a blessing upon our police officers and our firefighters and those who put their lives in jeopardy each day. Please bless each one of us that we can make correct choices and help our neighbors and offer a helping hand to those around us. We're grateful for all we have, and we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. We are happy to have some new city council members here with us tonight. We have Councilmember Ray Hancock, Councilmember Larry Rapoletto. We want to recognize Councilmember David Craig. He is in New York, and we will be seeing his face up here probably pretty quickly. And we always want to welcome Councilmember Fowers and Councilmember Hill. We just wanted to make a couple of announcements of some upcoming events. This Saturday at 9 o'clock at Hooper City Cemetery, we are going to be removing the wreaths off the cemetery that we put down for Wreaths Across America. They do not like us to leave them until they start to become looking not well, because it always is representing and an honor for our veterans. So any of you that can go help us this Saturday, 9 o'clock at the cemetery, we would really appreciate that. We are going to take them apart. The Hooper School would like the bowls. We're going to take off the rings, the metal rings. We have some farmers, or if any of you are interested, to come and get the pine part for your gulch, you're welcome to. So that will be this Saturday. Some of you might have also, on our table, saw this flyer about strengthening families. This is a class that the Western Weaver CTC is hosting. It's a free 6-week class. And there's flyers back here on the desk if you are interested in that. They're Mondays from 6 until 8 at Mountain View Junior High, which is the new junior high, starting January 26th. Again, it's free. They provide dinner, and then each family gets an Amazon gift card after. And so there's a flyer there on the desk, and as well as in the foyer. And then I just wanted to remind you also that we are doing our monthly online newsletters, and we really want to thank our city recorder, Morgan Yeoman, that does those for us. And so if you go to our website or to our Hooper City Facebook page, you will be able to see those monthly newsletters. Okay, so we are going to go on then. Next thing is public comments. If anyone has a public comment, if you will come up and state your name, you have 3 minutes. And realizing this is a comment, we really, if we don't answer your questions right now, because it's a comment. And so come up and ask those, and then we will move on. Is there anyone that has a comment?
David Harris, what else am I supposed to say?
That's it.
It's a comment about your working meeting with that consultant for $2,500. What's the plan after they come in? So if you come in and the consultant says we're going to do this, or whatever it may be, what's the plan after that?
So what he does is creates the policy. So Hooper doesn't have an economic policy, so they are the ones that would actually be writing an economic policy for Hooper to abide by. That's what it is. So he would come in and meet with city council and go through and create a policy as far as what we would be doing in the future with economics. And he'll be coming at our next work meeting at 6 o'clock, and he'll be explaining all of that. But it's a policy. And then that's something that would govern us as far as when we're working with commercial development.
So I guess I still have the same question, because now you've got the policy in place. How does it get implemented, maintained, administered, etc.?
So just one example. So for example, I serve on the sewer district board, and we had a city that came in and wanted to be part of a CRA and wanted the sewer district to be able to do that. And if you're familiar with CRAs, they have a policy in place that says we're only going to do a CRA. It's only going to be for X amount of years, for a certain percentage. Hooper City, we don't have anything like that in place at all. So if a commercial development comes in and asks us, currently we don't have anything, and so after that it would be up to city council to administer that and make sure we follow it.
Okay.
And I already told you I wouldn't answer questions, and I talk too much when kids tell me that. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we will move on then to consent items, which is the approval of the minutes dated December 4th, 2025. Any questions, changes? There was only one thing that I noticed, and it was under public comments when it said, Steve Robinson explained that the county would like to give a tour. It was, he explained that he would like to give a tour of the facility, meaning his facility, not the county.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from December 4th, 2025 with the one correction.
Motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second was made by Councilmember Rapoletto. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next thing we have on our agenda then is we are going to have a public hearing on the request for release of easement for Josh Bennett. And you'll see his address there, 5775 South, 5900 West. So if there is someone who will make the motion to move us into a public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we move into a public hearing.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Flowers. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second was made by Councilmember Hancock. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to move to a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to come up and have anything with the... Okay, seeing none, then we need a motion to move back to our regular meeting.
So moved.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second was made by Councilmember Flowers. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now we're going to have a city council discussion, and I believe, Malcolm, you have something you can tell us about that. Thank you.
Sure. This was provided. This was provided to us by the applicant. Here's a potential site plan. You can see a shop being located here. This would be the north property line. It wants to be he wants to place it 8 feet from the north property line. Currently there's a 10-foot utility easement here. And just right here. We can pull up our plat map and see. This would be the lot in discussion right here, lot 1. So this is the easement in question, or that's been petitioned to be vacated. They have to be 10 foot off property line. You can't make that now. This one's 8 foot is what the end goal would be. They need to be 10 foot if there's a utility easement. Finally, I just wanted to make sure with the new council and everyone that they're aware of kind of how this worked out. You can read our ordinance here where we just require with a subdivision to have an easement around the boundary of the subdivision. It's 10 foot. And you can kind of see this was subdivided in 2016. This was an original home right here. And then they subdivided these 2 lots, so lot 2 and 3. And as part of that, we followed the ordinance there and drew a PUE around the border of the subdivision. So that's where we're at. Letters have been submitted. They followed the state process. We have ordinance in our code that we just follow the state process for a petition to vacate an easement. And part of that state requirement is that they provide letters from any interested utility companies in that easement. And those have been provided and should have been reviewed by everybody. It looks like there were no issues with them having it vacated. So that's kind of where we stand. Any questions for me? Or I believe the applicant's here as well, so if there are any questions for me or any need clarification, please feel free to ask.
I do have some counsel. According to our code, which is 106A71, subdivision requires that there is a easement that goes around the subdivision completely. So by doing this, we would be not following, it would be a non-conforming subdivision. So I would advise not to do this. I think there's other ways that we can assist the applicant here. There's encroachment agreements that we can make with this person so that they could possibly build on this area. An encroachment
So I have a question on that encroachment. Is there a distance that you assign to that? If it's approved, if we approve the easement type encroachment, is there a distance, or they say, okay, we'll let you encroach up to 2 feet of this utility easement, or what?
That's something that the city would decide with the person that wants this done. Correct. That'd be an agreement that we would come to. We would come up with what we would want on our easement, because this is our easement. We don't have to give these up.
Well, maybe I have just one other question. Is there something already built on this easement? I mean, is that why it's being requested? Have they already built something on the easement or not?
Not a question I can answer, I don't know.
Would the applicant like to come up? Is there questions you have?
I'll stand up and introduce myself.
Can I ask a question first, if you don't mind? So, for me to understand this right, so there's a 10-foot easement around, and so his building's gonna go 2 feet over to it, or past that 10-foot easement? Or,
That's for Malcolm.
Yeah, that's accurate from what he's sent us here. He wants to locate a shop 8 foot from this property line, and there's a 10-foot easement, which would require him to be at 10 feet.
okay, I didn't know if there were so many feet from the building to a property line, and if that was the same on an easement, and so he was just getting closer to the easement, so he's actually going over 2 feet.
Yeah, the proposal is that he would encroach or vacate or beyond our easement, so he's seeking a waiver or something to do that. Or,
2 feet of the property line, or of the public utility easement, excuse me. My name's Josh Bennett. I think my biggest, so I absolutely understand your subdivision regulations. This is a piece of property that was sectioned off that also has another building. So Malcolm, could you pull up the plat map for me, please?
Yeah, sure.
So the Brad Mortensen, the 2137 there. So that one already has, that easement has already been vacated. And he has a shop that has been built, I believe, 5 feet from the property line. So that would be 5 feet into the public utility easement. I would absolutely understand if it was a standard subdivision. But if you were to look at,
Can I ask a clarifying? Didn't you show me where he was saying which easement this is?
On Brad Mortensen, are you the same side as you're looking to vacate?
on the left side of this page.
So yeah,
That'd be the east
top
side.
here. Oh no, the left.
Yes,
of the
yep,
east
that
side.
is the one that
You
is
vacated this one.
correct. Yep. So a portion of the easement has already been approved.
But
by
just
this-
on that one lot, or is it on all lots? Can you, I guess that's what I'm asking too. Can I ask questions? Oh, never mind.
You probably ought to go to the line.
Anyways, I guess if this was a standard subdivision, I would see that. But if you were to look at, an aerial view of this quote-unquote subdivision, it's property that was divided, right? I don't see how in any way in the future that you would, again, if you were to look at it from an aerial view, that you would ever run utilities in that area. And again, we're not asking for the entire easement, right? We're just asking for a very small portion of it.
I have a question for you. Would it be possible for you just to move your building over the 2 feet so you wouldn't be in the easement?
So it puts it close to the house, extremely close to the house if we were to do that. So that's why we are trying to get it pushed closer to the property line.
What constitutes extremely close to the house? Just curiosity.
I mean, we'd have to measure it, but I'd say within 5 to 10 feet of the home.
Is that in compliance with current building code to have it
10 foot separation, 10 feet minimum distance between them.
I have a question. So, if that's the case, I'm not viewing an overhead view of Mr. Mortensen's property, but if it is the case that we've already vacated the portion of the easement, this would then, council, you can advise, but would this already mean that we have a non-conforming subdivision and that makes this a moot point?
I disagree. Is this on? Okay. I disagree. I guess bad acts that's happened in the past doesn't make this one good. I would still advise not to make this more non-conforming. That is our zoning code, so I'm always going to ask you to follow the code. Again, I think that we could make this work. An encroachment agreement is something that's common in cities. For example, Layton always would allow in the back, depending on setbacks and those kind of things, but always would allow 5 feet of encroachment, but it would be an encroachment agreement that they would come to. So I think that this is something that we can make work, and that's what I advise the council.
How long would it take to get something drawn up along those lines?
This would be a very simple process. I could have something I could have it in a week and get it to Malcolm.
So just to clarify, if we did that encroachment agreement, and if at any time Hooper City did need that easement, then you would be responsible for moving that building, correct? I mean, we would have to have access through our easement.
So it's our easement, and if we need it, we need it. And I think what you're saying there is kind of the problem, right? If we get rid of it and we need it, then we'll have to get it back somehow. So if we need it, we need it. And yes, we could get in. We have the right to go in and do things through our easement there. And that would be part of the agreement, just the understanding that if we ever needed it, we could go in and do what we needed to do. But that being said, it sounds like he's only getting in 2 feet into the easement. So.
Correct. I do want to clarify that we're not asking for the entire easement to be vacated. We're asking for 2 feet by 30 feet of that easement to be vacated.
So Josh, are you okay with an encroachment agreement?
Yes, because I don't see you guys ever
You
using
know what?
that ever.
I'm just gonna follow a professional's, he knows a lot more about this than I do, and that's the way I would lean. If you're good with an encroachment, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that based on council's advice, and I do agree, just because we may have done something improper the last time doesn't mean that we necessarily want to follow that, but we would love to work with you and find a way that we can make this work for you and your use of the property, but also securing the future of whatever the city may need for it. And if you're right and we never need it, then it's never going to be a problem, and we already have that kind of an agreement. My question on that would be, as this is presented to the council for approval, if we were to move forward with an encroachment agreement, we couldn't approve as it stands, so do we need to add this to another agenda, or is this something that we can just modify as it stands?
I would have to actually verify if this needs to be voted by the council. I think this is a contract, it'd be an agreement between them, so I'd have to look at the code. So maybe let's work on it and then we'll get to the next point. It shouldn't take long.
Have we not already sent out the appropriate, and is not the purpose of this meeting is for everybody to say their piece if they wanted to say, hey, I don't think you should have that?
Certainly. We can definitely make a vote on it. I would actually push that we make a vote on this.
That way it turns into just a contract signing.
Correct.
Rather than another meeting for what this portion of the meeting is already for.
But I'd say whether we're voting yes or no to abandon the easement. And then I can take it on myself as an assignment to get the contract in place for the encroachment agreement.
So we would need to have a motion stating whether we are motioning to abandon the easement or not, if I'm understanding correct.
So can I just clarify, Rocky Mountain Power's letter specifically stated to only agree to an encroachment,
Correct.
not an abandonment?
I think point to note for that is we consider these broadly. That's the same letter we get from Rocky Mountain Power every time. I don't think they'll change they're never going to provide a different letter
who's been
They do
saying
not
all
say
that?
yes. They
So-
do not.
So we've gone against Rocky Mountain's power advice every time. Just
I
saying.
haven't seen those other letters, but based on my experience with Rocky Mountain, I think what he means is yes.
That's interesting to know. Thank you. Anyway, so I'll make the motion to not abandon the utility easement on this particular portion of property, and instead enter into an encroachment agreement as written by our legal counsel.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I second.
Second was made by Councilmember Craig. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor?
I just have a question. So
You
what is the timeline on this? Will this have to come up? Will we see this again, or does this take care of it?
I mean, we can put it on the agenda. We can get it on the agenda to discuss what happens. I need to look into the code on whether this needs to come to the council for a vote. So, I mean, if you guys wanted to. Yes. Okay. So that's something I'll look at. But within the week, I'll get that information and I'll get it drawn up.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you
Okay,
all.
we'll be in touch. Okay, the next thing on our agenda, we are going to have a presentation by David Harris on emergency preparedness.
You each have a hard copy in front of you.
Yes, and there's copies
Yeah, I
on
saw
the
that.
table if people would like to pick those up.
Did you each have one? Did you each have one in front of you?
Did you just give us one?
No, it was in the.
Here, one.
Grab two.
Well, they're in high demand. There's only, how many to print? 15? There's only 14 left, so.
So I already got one. You got one. I'm good.
We need eight.
I have one.
We'll see what we can do.
You ready?
Yes.
So before I jump, just real quick, I attend a county emergency preparedness meeting, that happened to be today. But a couple things that came from there, that one was about Everbridge. So I asked about Everbridge, and Everbridge is a notification, a broad notification that this county has adopted. It's in the place of what used to be Red Code, or Code Red, excuse me. This is now the method to communicate. But it has to be a city employee, so I can't do it. No regrets there. But in order to do it, you need to identify who it is and send an email to Lisa Schultz. I think you have her contact information. Lisa's?
You can get that to me.
Yeah. Who it is, and then that person, there's 8 hours of Everbridge University training. And then they would be approved and get the access to that. Second thing is they recommended highly, and it makes sense, that the city offices have emergency materials here for city staff. And really the best analogy is put the oxygen mask on yourself before you try to help somebody else. So if you're trying to if the city's trying to put things back together after an incident, and you're not stable here, then it could really inhibit the recovery. So just something to think about. I think we'll address that from the emergency preparedness team. So will you show me the first page?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it pulled up here, it's not like in.
So on the first page, I'll just, these are things that are not in there formally, but we need to add. And I'm not going to go through there, so you can see those. That little the house or emergency preparedness home, whatever you want to call it, is just trying to pictorially illustrate how we are organized as a community in responding to an incident. So So that house right there. So, fundamentally, it's family, all, up to way to the community, depending on the magnitude of the incident. That next one is a map of how the city's divided up. So I just want to read, if you go to introduction, I'm not going to read it all for you, and you may look at it and say, well, this is not much of a plan, and it's really taken us, now we've been doing this for 2 years, and there's a lot to be developed in it. But we want to make it simple. But right there, the Hooper City Emergency Operation Plan outlines how the city prepares for, responds to, and recovers from an emergency. And the plan will follow the NCMS, which is the National Incident Management System, and ICS, which is how one is managed. If it's small enough, there's a fire that takes out a couple homes, we're not going to set up a command center. But the premise is, and it's stated in here, and so if you go to page 7, the premise is that it's the greatest amount of good, and we'll see that in it. It's the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. Hooper's not going to hit the radar for that. They're going to be in Ogden, they're going to be other places. So we are under that operator of developing a plan under the assumption that we could be on our own for a day, 2 days, 3 days. When EMS shows up, then I would, if I'm the one and that would be the case probably, I would default to them. So if fire shows up, I'd say, okay, here's what we've done so far, here's what we know, and then they may say, no, you stay, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll support you, or I turn it over to them. Whatever the case may be, and it really would depend on the magnitude. So this would require approval. If you go to that resolution, the approval take next one, I think. So it would be approval by the mayor and the city council. And actually, I would like to get it approved, not tonight, but if you would approve it and you look at it, say there's 100 holes in it, and I tell you, no, there's 1 million holes in it. Because there's a lot of things that aren't covered, and we're not going to be able to cover them all, but that we have started. We've got something in place that we can build on. So that's, actually, I'd like to get that approved. Not tonight, but there's a signature page that says we've looked at it and we agree, and I shows as deputy recorder. Are you deputy recorder?
No, Jamie's deputy.
Okay, so this says that it's, she's witnessed that it's signed for. So if we go, and please, if you have questions, I'm not trying to read the whole thing, I'm just trying to inform you a little bit of what we're trying to do and what we've got in place so far. But if you go to plan premise, page 13, yes. So there I said the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. With this in mind, this plan assumes that depending on the scope of the incident, the community will be on its own for a period of time. If you see down there, RDAP, CERT, VOAD. RDAP is, and that we've already implemented that in half of the city. The other half is, never mind. We've got a half of the city. And that's rapid disaster assessment. So the whole function of CERT, RDAP, is to assess where the needs are so that when the resources, the skill comes in, we can tell them already, we've covered this area, you don't need to go there, we need you to go here. Instead of fire shows up and now they've got to spend, days canvassing the city. It's not going to happen. So if we can do all of that beforehand, and then whatever we can address, we can help. If it's under CERT, which is Community Emergency Response, there's certain things, if you're CERT trained, you can do a few first aid things, but nothing really medical. So we would do as much as we could so that when somebody shows up, we could turn it over to the ones that are trained for it. VOAD is a community, it's a response, recovery response, that we would request as a city. They can't come in on their own, we would ask, we need help. And it's all kinds of different organizations that specialize in different abilities, and we'd say, we need shelter, we need water, can you help us? So that's what VOAD is. So prepare, just slide up a little bit. Well, not that much. all the purpose of Hooper City. So prepare, respond, we just went past it. Prepare, respond to recover. So we're not just emergency preparedness. Part of our scope would also be how we respond. And how we, that's why the comment about the city offices needs to be able to get you back up and running to facilitate that as much as we can, because it's going to require public works, the things that are way outside of the scope. Although we are through the area, anyway, try to collect some of those resources. It'll take me a while to explain how that is a little different level. But if you look, go down a little more to the hazards, just keep going. So there's, and actually, I had to submit something to the state, completely unqualified, but there was nobody else, and how we would respond to those. And what we determined was the possible magnitude of one of those issues. Earthquake, we don't have any mountains that fall on us, but we would, looking for liquefaction, we would just kind of settle into the ground. So we have, earthquake would be an extreme one for us. Flooding, you may or may not think it is, but I actually attended a presentation on if the dams broke, and which dams broke, and it would hit us pretty good. If two of them broke, anyway, those are all real risks to the city. So we're trying to address those. If you'll go down to concept of operation. So again, I already said that would be the NIMS, which is the Institute of Managing the, I'll read it, National Incident Management System. And then underneath that is ICS, that's the command system. There are 5 different primary roles in a full-fledged command center, how that operates. We're really thinking we would only be three positions. And 2 of them, between the 3, would cover those other positions that we couldn't staff. Then the very last page 16. Oh, the navigator left.
Temporarily.
So there is, so the mayor has responsibility, but there's a caveat in there. So the mayor holds overall authority during declared emergencies. If the mayor is not trained in the EOP and is supporting functions, responsibility would fall to the trained. So although you would have ultimate, but you wouldn't, unless you were trained, you would step in and manage the command center. Just for clarification, it just doesn't make any sense to us that whomever, I'm looking at you, but to step in and say, I don't even know what EOC stands for, and you want me to manage the command center. So questions?
When you guys evaluated this stuff, I'm not seeing anything in there about the irrigation canals, and I know insurance companies are very concerned about canals breaking. The risk out here is obviously minimal, but it could, like there's one just east of my house that carries a large amount of water, and my insurance companies have that included in their potential floodplain plan, because that canal, if it did happen to burst, my basement would get flooded. If it was full in the time of the irrigation system, there is a drainage that runs from my house that never carried in a million years. So I didn't see that in your mitigation. It was rivers and sloughs, but I didn't see anything dealing with the irrigation canals. I think that's something you probably ought to look into a little bit, maybe, as you're doing this.
So let me put the burden back on you.
Okay.
Because we are a group of volunteers, strictly, all of us.
Okay.
And there are, like I said, you say there's 100 holes in it, I'll tell you there's 1 million holes in it.
Okay.
So if you will help me remember that, somehow you can, and don't just tell me tonight that you walk out the door and neither one of us remember. Somehow we meet once a month. It's the 3rd Wednesday.
Okay.
But some way to let me know to include that, because I'm not going to, there's just It's way out of my ability, our group's ability. And incidentally, we have it's truly impressive we've divvied up the responsibilities and what everyone is taking. We'd never make this if it was just me. Whereas, in fact, Annika was going to present this, but she's sick. She's the one that's working on the plan. So somehow, I agree, but somehow we need to, just doesn't get lost in the rhetoric, and I don't remember, and 2 or 3 weeks, I think I said something to him, but I don't remember, if nothing happens.
So when's our next meeting?
The third Wednesday, which is what day? I don't know, it's this third Wednesday here at 6:30. So just incidentally, we split the meeting. The first half of the meeting is the business side of it, and then the second half would be emergency preparedness, like a 72-hour or sanitation or long-term storage. We've had a number of it, but some way to so we don't lose it, because I agree.
So it'd be beneficial if I'll take this, make any notes, just like that one that Councilmember Hancock had, and then plan on us either getting this to you before the next meeting, or plan on, because I think everyone would like a chance to go through it for a fine tooth comb. Now you've explained it even a little better, and then we could, because I think we do want to have this approved.
So actually, that's an excellent idea, and I retract everything I said 35 seconds ago. If you do that, if you mark up your plan and give it to me, and if everybody did that, if we got 5 comments from each one of you, that would be a boost to what we're trying to do. So yes, that would be great. That would be.
Is that acceptable with the council to do that?
So Dave, I would just say this, kudos to you and all of your helpers, your committee. This is a huge task, and I'm very impressed with what you've done. And if we do have an emergency out here in Hooper, everybody's going to rally together and help you guys. And just having this plan, it's going to work out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Also, just one little twist on what you said. You're right. Everyone will, but if we are not organized how that help is administered. In fact, CERT would evolve because of an earthquake. The short story is there were a significant amount of volunteers that died. But if we're organized and we know how to respond, and you want to help, you know, as a community member, I'm going to have to go to the EOC, the command center. And then I will be told there, okay, we need you here, we need you here. So thank you very much. That's our ambition, is so that we're organized when we respond.
Thank you.
Let's have a deadline. If not, we won't. So let's plan on council by next Tuesday. You have this weekend to look through this, make any notes that you do by next Tuesday. Then we will turn these back into the office to Morgan. And then if you would want to come in end of day Tuesday, then we can make those changes so it could go out in our packet Thursday. So we'd be prepared to motion on this on our January 22nd meeting.
So that means that I have to incorporate your changes.
Well, so how much time would you want? That maybe doesn't give you enough time. Should we say Monday? Would that give everyone enough time by Monday to review this?
So it's not, that's great, but my concern is my ability to respond so that it's what you've asked for, it's in the plan and ready for you to review, and some of them may be a little, like yours, all we would do is say, oh, we got to think about the irrigation ditches. That's it. That would be in the plan, it would be documented, but the response, we wouldn't have it. It's just, and all of this page here is going to take us a while to embed this in. Because those CERT, VOAD, and so on have sections for those, and to get those in and adequately describe how they function so that you know what CERT is, and you know what, as a community member, you know what those are and how they operate. That's my concern. So we can come back with, here's the ideas, and all we say, and I'm agreeable to this, is all we say, we can't forget the irrigation ditch, and there's a line that says it. And whatever other comments, we just have a line, but we don't have an adequate response. I can agree with that.
Would you like to have more time? Would you like us to, you tell us
So
then what would be a good time frame?
Sounds like double talk, but no, I don't want any more time. Because I want to keep it, if we don't, just like you said, if we don't act, then we don't act. So yes, give it to me, but just be willing to say, oh, it's in there. There's a one line that says, well, we don't know how to do this. but we gotta do something about it, period. And then we work on that, little by little, and try to respond to each one of them. So I think that commits both of us as a emergency preparedness team and the city council, to get something that's documented, has lots of flaws in it, but we can move on it. So, yes, if you say a week, and then you know that we're gonna come back with just that we acknowledge that you said it.
Okay, would it be beneficial if we gave you, if your meeting's on the 21st, if we don't plan on motioning on it then until February 5th?
Oh, yeah, that's.
Because then we could, that would give us time, you'd have your 21st meeting, and then after you had your, we could still get this to you a week from, if we give everyone then, or even by next Wednesday, if we give it, then we give it to you, then you'd have it at your meeting to review it, and then you could put in what you needed to, and then we'd have it ready for the,
I like that, yep, let's do that.
okay, does that sound good?
Can we just email you then, if we find something? Is that gonna be the easiest, to just email here?
Or you can do that, whatever you'd like.
So Dave, here's what's gonna happen is if I don't go home and read this tonight or tomorrow morning, I'm gonna forget until, the next
Yeah.
time, so
Yeah.
I'll just email you tomorrow.
Okay. And you can use that email that's on the front.
Okay.
And incidentally, that's an email so that whoever takes my place, because I'm not doing this for the rest of my life, the email stands. So that whoever steps in can take over on that email.
I doubt we're gonna find very much that you're gonna hear back from us.
If it's just 5 or 6 thoughts. What about this? What about this? Because that'll help us a lot to think. Because we're getting outside of our little balloon, our little bubble, excuse me. And we're taught to think the way we think. We get somebody on the outside that has a different thought structure.
Well, and just quickly, I want to give you kudos. I had a son that was on an LDS mission in New Orleans when Katrina hit. New Orleans was, you're way ahead of how New Orleans was prepared for that hurricane that hit them and decimated their city. They had nothing planned out. You guys are miles ahead of where they were. They were totally lost.
Well, thank you. We feel like we're still 100 miles behind. But
Well, you're way ahead of the city, I'll tell you that, already, a big city.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to also just make a comment really quickly, Dave. Just commending you for everything that you've done. I've had an opportunity to attend one of these sessions, and like you said, the first half is emergency preparedness. The second half has just an amazing opportunity to learn more. The one I attended, they did food preparedness for the home. It was a great course. I think everybody should have taken it on how to store food, how to prepare food for emergencies. So it's not just meetings about the emergency preparedness plan. They bring people in from the community who come in and actually provide some useful information you can do today. So I would encourage anybody to attend these meetings. Very excited for us to continue to partner with you. I think we should have a provision in there that mandates that you run this for the rest of your life. So thank you.
I know where you live, guy. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then council will have something to Morgan by Wednesday. If not, we'll send you out a reminder email if you haven't already emailed Dave or brought something in. Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you. We do appreciate all of this. Okay, the next thing in our packet was the November financial statements. This is not anything we vote on. This is for your information only. If you have any questions, go through and review this. And when we start on the budget meetings, these will probably start to make a little more sense. Does anybody have anything to comment on this?
Do you want me to review it?
Yes, if you would like to, that would be great.
So I don't have a PowerPoint to present this time, but I'll just go over some highlights. This is November's data, so 5 months of the year have passed, so 42% of the year is over. Overall, the general fund revenues are close to budget at 43.8%. Expenditures are slightly below budget at 38.8%. Our highways budget, I feel like, is not correct. I don't know, Mayor, what you think about that, but it only says that we've spent 45%, and I feel like we've spent way more than that with our road projects that we've had this year. So that needs to be discussed and talked about and made accurate, I believe. As far as the utility funds go, we're pretty close to budget. Sewer, 42.9% budget. Revenues, expenses are 66.8 because we had some repairs this last month that had to be made. Garbage is right at 42%. Expenses for garbage are roughly 35%. Stormwater, close to budget at 47% collected. Expenses are only at 20% spent in the stormwater. As far as our, let's see, there we go, right there. Our general fund unrestricted fund balance has to be maintained between 5 and 35%. We're currently at 27% before some of that money has to be transferred to capital projects. So the other thing I did notice was that we talked about our grant revenue last time, and it's still not on November financials as far as the revenue portion of our grants. And I don't know if you asked Cameron about that or not. Anyway.
Yeah, I did, and she showed me where it was in the budget, but I didn't happen to bring that tonight. You know, we went through that budget packet, and it showed it there listed. So I know that Pepper Tomato Days one was in here because I saw it, but she said those were in capital projects, and it was in secured capital projects. And like I say, I apologize, I don't have my whole budget booklet with me, but
so all the lines that say grants, for example, intergovernmental grants, local units, still shows a 0 year-to-date actual when our budget is 182.4. There was another one on the grant revenue. Anyway, the ones that I looked at on the actual financial pages, here it is. Tomato Days grant on recreation shows a 0 year-to-date actual, when it should be 50,000. So some things to look at in our grant revenue.
I know I saw it in here, but I don't remember now what page. I started highlighting them, but somewhere I did see where it said this doesn't account for the $50,000 Herbert Tomato Days grant. And like I say, if I had her whole budget booklet, because they were at the back and she had them listed, but I don't have that with me tonight. But we can.
Yeah, I had a couple.
Oh, go ahead,
I had a
Dave.
couple similar questions because I saw that several of the grant-funded items were budgeted but not reflected in the expenditures, and I was just curious if we could confirm when those revenues are expected to be recognized and whether like any mid-year budget adjustments are anticipated. And I was also curious, similarly, like with the capital projects like sewer and stormwater, they all carry like significant reserve balances. So I'm just curious if we can outline which projects are already committed versus discretionary, and maybe if there's any flexibility the council had if priorities shift for the year, so we're kind of prepared for that.
Sure, and like I say, again, I apologize, I don't have our whole big budget booklet with me tonight. I usually bring it, but I didn't tonight. But I know all those were accounted for in that book, because when we went through, because our budget had to be approved the end of June, and we had already received that many from the grants, and so I know they were in a separate category. So without having Cammie here to ask, I'm not sure where that is.
I would think that they should be in those line items, though. If we have a budget line item for a grant, specifically for Tomato Days, you know, that should show up in that line item rather than somewhere else that's in. Anyway, David, to answer your question on page 1, 2, or 3, there it shows under the utility funds, like the sewer fund has unspent project money for $52,000. It's been committed for the additional purchase of some additional pumps. And then stormwater, that's project money, also there available for a committed project as well.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
But yeah, you're right. We'd be well served to know specifically. I mean, the sewer says pumps, but stormwater, would be nice to know specifically what those projects are.
Well, on the bottom of page 2, where it says the city has unspent project money in the amount of $165,000, that is the 5900 project.
We probably ought to list that.
Well, city council, when they did the budget, did not put any money in the budget for that 5900 West project, but that money was allocated. City council approved to have that 165,000 go towards that project, but then it was time to do the budget. They did not approve to put that project in the budget. And so that is something that we will have to look at because that project is something that's going to need to be done here within the next few months.
That's all I got.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay. So the next thing we have then is a presentation by Taylor Stauffer, who is our city engineer, and we'll turn the time to him.
Thank you. Are you gonna pull up that thing I sent you? PDF? So I'm here to talk about SWIP, our stormwater management plan. To give a little history for the new council members, but just to understand what's going on is over a year ago, it was last January, I guess it was just 1 year ago, the city went through the audit for the MS4 program, which is a municipality sanitary stormwater audit. That's where they come in and they audit how we're controlling our stormwater, our pollutions and sedimentation and stuff like that. What happens with normal construction, all that stuff. That was a whole year-long process. The audit happened, and fixing all the items that they told us to fix took us a whole year. One of those items on the list was that the city needed to have the stormwater system GIS mapped in its entirety, and that's something that we don't have. It's something that within the past, I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago, where we started mapping all of our new stormwater infrastructure. So we have maybe 10% of everything in the city mapped in GIS already, but we have that whole lot of the rest of the city that we need to map. And we did go to the state, the water quality division, and we asked them for some leniency or some exemption that we want to do this, but because of the large financial burden that would be placed on us to do it all at once, we said, can we work on it every year for the next 5 years and take it bit by bit? And we sent out a letter to them, and we got denied. They said, you have until the end of 2026 to do it. So,
Interrupt 1 second, roughly what would that cost?
so that's what we came here with over here. Summing up those numbers, which isn't summed up. Let's see if I can pull it up right here. It was 58. There it is. Yeah, about $55,000. Which, when we first estimated it, and then when we talked to the state, we said that's going to cost us about $80,000. That was our rough numbers. When we got the rejection letter, we said let's look into all the more specifics and really try to figure out how much it would cost us. So we are down from what we first expected. Now I'll talk about maybe there's the consequences if we don't do this. What can happen is that the state can impose fines for not meeting these MS4 requirements. Kind of comes from the EPA. They can be pretty strict, but they can also, I actually don't know many municipalities that have received fines for not doing it. As long as we show we're trying, they're not going to try to make it more difficult for us, is what I've seen for a lot of people. So that's what I want to do here is I want to see if we can commit some funds to do this, do as much as we can. We don't want to create a larger burden. If we wanted to try to achieve that 55,000 right there and do the whole city, we'll try to do that. If we wanted to show whatever we can, but we got to show that we're making an effort to get this thing mapped. I was going to tell you a few other benefits other than just not meeting the requirements. Some other benefits is for our storm drain master plan, master planning for all our utilities, something we want to do. We don't have a storm drain master plan, and to do one ever, it'd be impossible to do without accurate mapping of what we already have. plan. All planning and development, when new development comes in and they say, all right, where's your next stormwater infrastructure? It's usually Jared. Jared knows everything in the city, like the back of his hand, but if it was mapped, we know where it's at and it's easy for them to know. Engineering wise, like and public works, when we have city projects that we have to do, we need to know how the system operates, and so we can do calculations and knowing that. And then the last one is just avoiding fees that the state might impose on us. So that's kind of my little rundown. I guess also I want to state how we plan to do this. It will take someone walking around with a GPS equipment and literally walking down all the streets, finding a storm drain manhole, saying here's one, storm drain catch basin, walking a few ditches, show where the ditches are. So someone is going to be walking up and down these streets a whole lot. And if they have to do it this year, it's someone from my office, and I want them to do it in nice weather, not in the middle of summer. So we can do it something in the spring or late fall. That'd be ideal. Or easier for that person doing that. And then we take the data back and create a map with it with our GIS gateway mapping people. So that's where the costs kind of break down right there. Is just how we're going to do that. So do you guys have any questions for me?
I have a question. You said, I think like, we at least need to get started to suffice with the state. What percentage do we have to kind of show ourselves underway to achieve what the state requires by the end of 2026?
I mean, they'll never tell us that, right? And that's kind of what we asked them. We said, can we do 20%? And they said no. I feel if we got 60% of the city mapped out and show them that we just ran out of money, that we want to do more, they won't impose fines on us in the year 2026. But they would work with us another year. That's how I feel.
And then I have one other question, which is kind of crazy thought. Is it possible to float like mini GPSs down these storm drains to map it out quickly?
I would say no. And there's not an easy way to do that. I mean, there's closed CCTV that they use for sewer and stuff, and it kind of works like that. That's going to be a lot more expensive than what this is.
Okay.
That's more for sewer when the sewer's never open. This stuff does open up, so it's easier to do this way, I think. Yeah.
So this is on for a discussion. This would have to be an amendment to the budget because it wasn't a budget item, and so we could put that on our next agenda to have it voted on to amend our budget. We talked about it with staff, and yes, there's a possibility they won't come back and fine us, but we also talked about there's a good possibility if we could look at our budget and see, we'd be better off having the money in there, and then if we don't get it done, but we don't know. That's the thing. Who wants to just be at the mercy of if they are going to fine us, if they're not going to fine us? And so I would think it might be a good recommendation if we could find that money in the budget to amend our budget to include this, so the funds would be there available to do it. But like I mentioned, it wasn't motioned it's not on our agenda as a motion, so we would need to vote on this at our next meeting and then have our budget amended.
Wasn't there a portion of our budget allocated to the sewer project there was a big thing we were doing with mapping or something this year, wasn't there, or had to do with, remind me what it was. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was for the,
Well, I would say a sewer project, we're talking about one on 5100 West, a force main that extends out to 40,000 South. Is that what you're thinking?
no, it was to redo the method where we collect the impact fees for sewer and stormwater, or was it just stormwater? I'm trying to remember.
Are we talking about IFFPs,
Yes.
master planning?
Yes.
Yes, so let's see. I came here one time to talk about doing a master plan for sewer. Is that right?
There was, because there was quite a bit of it that had already been done.
Yes.
And I don't have that form right in front of me either, because we had the exact amounts, but this is separate from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm remembering now. We're doing a master plan for Parks and Recreation and IFFP. I gave you a budget for sewer, and which is a lot done already, but storm drain is separate than that, and very little has been done towards that one.
But there was a chunk of money that we allocated for stormwater for the IFFP, correct?
I don't think so. I think I just gave it as numbers, as possibilities, if you wanted to go.
Because we had to redo the impact fees for stormwater. And then we budgeted some money for it, I'm almost sure.
Did we adjust the stormwater fee?
Yes.
Yeah, that was or I think we just increased the stormwater fee that we collect.
The stormwater fee went from $5 to $6, and I know we had talked about doing a stormwater impact fee, so to actually see what we should, but I don't think, and again, I apologize, I don't have my budget money big book with me, but I don't remember.
And I thought that was one of the mandated things from the EPA was the stormwater collection methods or the impact fee.
I mean, this might just,
Anyway.
yeah, I'm not following you, but
We'll go back and look at it.
yeah, anyways, so that, I mean, it's just kind of saying that we talked about budget already, and this is something that we haven't budgeted for, and it's kind of a big one, but sometimes you have to play.
Can I ask one more question? This 54,900, since we don't have a requirement from the state on what percentage we need to complete, do we have a commitment from you on what this 54,900 commits, the percentage that will be completed for this amount spent?
And that's what's hard for us, because one thing is, we're an engineering firm, we manage your guys' stormwater program. I wouldn't say we market ourselves as a stormwater mapping facility, company, like, it's not something we've ever done before. We definitely have the equipment and expertise on the software side of things, but I can't really commit to how much this is gonna get us, because this is really just a first time thing. This was me thinking, I went through and measured the number of miles streets we have, how fast it takes someone to walk that distance, get how much time it takes to collect data. So I mean, it's all pretty theoretical, but we can commit not going over a certain amount, like we'll track it and say, you hit that amount, and that's as far as we got.
And then in that same line of thought then, and please hear my heart, no offense to you on this, is this something that as a city, we would have a responsibility to RFP or to consider for competitive bids to understand, like you said yourself, you're not really necessarily super experienced in doing this, you haven't done it before. Should we consider alternative folks who have done this before and what it would cost somewhere else?
Well, I would encourage that, honestly. I don't think there is a company out there that will answer that RFP. That's the problem. If there is, that's great, because they'll probably be cheaper than us and before that. But I don't think you would get any response from that. But
Okay, yeah, I'm in there too, so I just wanted to,
totally welcome it. There might be someone like Twin D. They do the cammering of sewers and stuff. It might be worth doing out there, but they're very busy as well, and they've got their expertise, and so I don't know.
So.
Maybe reaching out to other municipalities and how they've done it, but in the past. But it's kind of weird in Hooper. Like, we were a new city 25 years ago, and so we don't have the historical past like other cities have, like Layton or other cities like that.
So if I understand this, so that 54,000, whatever it was, that's not a guarantee of getting 100% of it done, or?
Yeah, it'd be hard for us to commit to that.
So then we really do need to look somewhere else to
to get a commitment from somebody, and if we don't, then come back. I just hate having a open checkbook, you know, because once you start on the project, then, yeah, we're kind of stuck. And I don't agree with that. I would like a firm bid and, you know.
And we appreciate your position because you've already said this is not something you've done a lot, so we understand that, but I agree a little bit with Larry. A lot of things like this tend to get over budgeted a lot, especially in something where it's territory that we haven't dealt with before and you haven't dealt with before, so yeah, we may end up seeing what we can find and then get back with you or something. I don't know.
Do you know of any other cities that have had to do this? You know, you said reach out to some other municipalities who, because again, it would only be somebody that was in similar geographical area, because you take like other cities that are just confined and their storm drains are all, they're not dealing with sloughs and.
Yeah, I mean, I would just think Hooper is a whole lot like West Point, and they probably went through something like this many years ago. Not many years ago, but maybe 10 years ago. It seems like they got all the development hit then fast, probably 10 years ago, whatever, and it's just moving to Hooper. So I would talk to West Point. Boyd Davis is a good friend of mine that I can reach out to and see how he did it 10 years ago. And I'll say this is another option though. I have presented this with Jared, our Public Works Director. It is something that a member from the Public Works could do. If they got trained up on the equipment, we do it. We'll train them up. We'll use our equipment. Something they could do, but then when you ask him and say, do you have a guy that we could have for a whole month and a half, however long it takes, he doesn't have a guy that could do that. If you had someone there though, that would be a whole lot cheaper than what we're doing. I mean, and that's the thing is, I am looking to make it the cheapest for you guys. Like, this is your stormwater program. This is my stormwater program too. I take pride in it, and I want to do it good, but with money we have. If we could get an employee to do it, then we're all for that. And I think we have had cities that have done that before, but not on a city-wide scale. On a small scale, where they've been able to commit a week to it. So something like that.
When you said about miles, I knew once, but I don't remember, but Hooper has a lot of miles.
Yeah, is it like, I had it somewhere, 60 miles, 80 miles maybe? So, you're paying someone to go walk that.
Just to advise quickly, Marco does in 217. If we're getting services that are over the amount of 25,000, we need to invite for bids, which obviously this would be, he would have the opportunity to do that as well. So,
And if
217.
I just want to wonder if we do have a general services contract to manage the stormwater program. I just don't know if that would fall in that we
That's a
would.
good question. That's something I'll have to take under advisement. So, sorry, can you repeat what is the general?
So we have a general services agreement with Hooper City for general engineering services, and within that is the stormwater management program. So we manage the stormwater program under that contract. It's never scoped out of that contract to do it, but if it was something like just add to that scope, then it might.
Yeah, that's something I'll can definitely look at for sure.
Well, thank you, and maybe if you wouldn't mind reaching out to West Point too, and maybe we could see if there was, because I know when they did the audit, we talked about this really is a overwhelming task. And what you say, once it's done, then it's done, and from now on, it will be so much easier, because any new subdivisions we'll already have, or any future development, but for now, we're starting a lot of this from scratch.
So just to follow up, Taylor, in our budget, under stormwater fund, we do have a line item 2344-5060 an impact fee study for $120,000 that we allocated for budget this year, of which we spent zero. Also, there's an engineering fee line item for $30,000, which we've also spent zero for year to date. So there is money allocated in the impact fee study for this year's budget.
So then we would have to,
Yeah.
that's,
That wasn't, I don't have it on my radar to do that project this year, so if it's allocated.
And that's what I thought the EPA mandated deal was for, is why we allocated $120,000 was because of some kind of mandate. I thought it was either EPA or the state was mandating us for that.
Let me look into that. I don't think that was a requirement though.
yeah, I don't think so either. I think when we did that, because we had talked about doing those impact fee studies, and that was one of those impact fee studies, which would be different than this, but maybe that's something then, if we do have that budget money already there, then we could use that for this, and then another year add more money on to do that impact fee study. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hill, can you repeat that line? I just want to make note of it too.
Sure.
What budget line that is?
I'm trying to find the page number, page 19, and line item 23-44-5060.
Thank you.
David, one more question. So what's your time frame if you do this?
Ideally, I want to do it in the spring, and I think we'd get it done within 2 months.
Okay. And how soon do you need to know? The sooner the better, I guess. But
Yeah, and honestly, I guess just for workload purposes and planning that out for our springtime, I mean, late February would be fine. March would be fine too, I guess. We could also wait until fall. Just walking the hot summers is going to be brutal for.
How long will it take legal counsel to look into what you need to look into regarding this for us?
Well, based on some information that I just received, I think that I agree that this would still fit within the general contract. I will still going to get it and go through the agreement and look at the scope. So I still think it fits within the scope. If I see that it doesn't, I will let the council and mayor know.
That was really fast.
Well, that is a good point that you mentioned, Councilmember Hill, because if we do have that impact fee money there, I still have to speak with our treasurer and see, because sometimes I know if it's budget money, we don't necessarily have to, we still have to amend the budget because it wasn't allocated for that, but it could still be moved from one to another, but there would be money there that we could use. So that would be something we could talk with her about, and that might be a good solution.
Yeah. I'll just bring this up to Councilmember Opolato's idea. There's another way we could do this, I guess. It's not an open checkbook where what I would like to do is say, all right, there's 500 manholes in the city. How long does it take to do 500 manholes? But that's the problem is we don't know that number because it's not mapped. If you wanted to do it per manhole cost kind of idea, you know, like every manhole, every catch basin, every ditch, mile of ditch that you mapped, we pay for it that way. I mean, we could look at that idea if that's more pleasing to the council.
Could you put something like that together for us very quickly?
Give me a week or so, I can put that together. Whatever is better for you guys.
I'm trying to be hard on you, just trying to, there's a lot of people here in Hooper that are on a tight budget, and so it's just our responsibility to look after the best of their interest.
I'm with you.
Any other questions for Taylor?
You know, I just had a thought come to mind. Does this include all the ground? I mean, if, you know, there's open ground that's being farmed to and they dump water into a storm drain system, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we've got 3 main systems that come through the city that picks up everything. Does everything have to be mapped that enters that drain ditch that we have, an open drain ditch?
If it's within the public right of way, I would say that's what we're targeting. There is stuff that's infrastructure, like actual infrastructure that's not in the public right of way. We're looking for that too.
Well, I think everything will always end up in a public right away before the further goes west, it'll end up in west.
So, yeah.
So, okay.
So that would definitely help us out.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions, council, before we move on? Okay, well, we'll do a little more investigative work then, and when we're ready, we'll bring this back. We'll give Taylor a couple of weeks with that. Okay, so the next thing then is on our action items, there's a motion approval of commercial business license. Do you have something for that, or do you just?
So it's in your packet and the applicant's here as well.
Okay.
Got my own microphone today. I'll have him come up and explain his business and the process of the commercial business that he's applying for.
Is this for heavy metal laser? Oh, didn't know if there was more than one. My name's Kyle Simmons. I own a company called Heavy Metal Laser. I bought Northwest Welding's building. If you guys are familiar with that, on 4000 South. A little scary. I applied for a business license, but the meetings were canceled, so my closing date came and gone. So, but it's a similar business as what's there. I do metal fab, mainly sheet metal, a lot of aluminum. That's kind of it. You just cut it and bend it and weld. So I've got 9 employees. We don't do anything outside. It's all clean. We use no chemicals. It's not noisy. Just all inside the building.
I read the application and that it says you do powder coating. Now, do you do it there or do you send it out?
Small. The in-house process is small. Most of my powder coating goes up to Pennsylvania Avenue. But I don't know how familiar you are with powder coating.
Yeah, I'm right next. Well, I retired, but I'm right next door to the powder coater, and we send a lot of stuff over to them.
Okay. So we use what's called, anything that I do is called polyester, which is, it's not an epoxy, it's not a urethane. Other than the state of California, it's non-toxic. So it's very low, and my space is small. And then we have collection, because you don't have guys in there who can't have it dirty. So it is all collected and swept, and it gets put in filters and changed regularly.
So if you had the fire department come by,
I have, yeah, I've got 3 locations, and I've got 2 locations in West Haven and 1 in Marion Slaterville. And I'm just trying to consolidate under one roof, and I get inspected at every location every 6 months.
okay, so if the fire department comes by, I am fine because those guys don't let anything pass, and so I would be fine with.
Yeah, that's. And I failed 1 inspection. My axle light was out, but other than that, I've never failed a safety inspection of any kind.
That's pretty good.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll bring it back for discussion with the council. Any questions that council has for discussion amongst ourselves?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the business license application for K. Simmons Holdings LLC, 5175 West, 4000 South.
The motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second was made by Councilmember Craig. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We're happy to have you here, remember. Okay, the next thing on our agenda then is motion approval of city council assignments. I know that we had a question on some of them we were all right with, so we can continue to discuss this. Also, we need to nominate someone for the mayor pro tem position.
You want to do that now? The
Yes.
nomination? I'd nominate Councilman Hill as Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, a motion has been made by Councilmember Fowers. Is there a second? seeing no second, is there possibly another motion then for Mayor Pro Tem?
I'd like to nominate David Craig as Mayor Pro Tem.
We have a motion for David, or Council Member Craig to be the Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
The motion was seconded by Council Member Hancock. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. So we will have Councilmember Craig as our Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, now we go through the council assignments. I know we talked about discussing the tomato jam further. We also mentioned the VIP program that we wanted to do a little further discussion. So with these other ones that are listed, with the exception of that, is there any discussion on any of these, or is there someone that's going to make a motion to approve these other city council assignments?
So like on my assignment, it has this gesture coordinator. That is something that will happen. I mean, we haven't really approved it yet, but we are planning to do that.
Yes, I think we could go ahead and give you that assignment, or have that be a city, council member assignment. Am I correct in that? And then we will do that, plan on having that on the agenda next time to do that, pass that proclamation. Any other questions on? Okay, seeing none, is there someone then that would like to make a motion to approve these assignments?
I'll make a motion to approve the council members' assignments.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Rapoletto. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second is made by Councilmember Craig. Any discussion on these? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those carry then. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda then is we need to move into a closed door meeting to discuss something, and so I need to have someone make a motion for us to move into a closed door meeting.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we move into a closed door meeting.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Fowlers. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second is made by Councilmember Hancock. All in favor?
Mayor, could I have you make the motion, but read what's under 9, the entire paragraph as
Oh,
you
sure.
make that motion?
Yes, yes. Okay, so possible closed meeting concerning pending and threatened litigation, pending of real property, development of security personnel devices or systems, and/or character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of one or more individual.
Thank you. Now for the motion, sorry.
Okay, so do you want them to make the motion
All right.
again?
As long as everyone's in accordance with what was just said. Yes, okay, then that's okay.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so if you would like to stay here, there's a possibility we may come back to make a motion and then adjourn the meeting. If you want to stay here, we will move into another location. Or is everybody
Leaving?
leaving? Okay,
We got dinner waiting. See ya.
okay. Well, thank you for coming then.
I was gonna make a motion to return back to our regular session of the city council meeting.
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor to return to our regular meeting?
Aye.
Okay, we are returning back to our regular city council meeting
I'm just gonna check and see if,
from our closed door meeting. So the next thing thing on our agenda is a possible motion to negotiate the purchase of land. Is there a motion to negotiate?
I'll make a motion to negotiate the purchase of the property in the corner of 5500 West, 5100 South.
Okay, we have a motion to negotiate the purchase of land. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second is made by Councilmember Rapoletto. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next thing on our meeting then is a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Flowers. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second made by Councilmember Hancock. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is adjourned. Thank you.
Sorry to drag you for half an hour.